And now for another episode of Confessions of an Online Psychic. With your host, novelist, filmmaker, and authentic psychic, Dave Thompson.
Hello everybody, I'm Dave, and today's episode of Confessions, I'm going to talk about one of the most maligned goddesses ever, the Goddess Lilith. And this is no exaggeration. She is the most maligned goddess in history. She's been called the epitome of all that is evil in the world. So, this is such an important bit that I thought I'd better just read straight from my script and try to. There's several sections here. In High Magic 202, the old version, I do mention Lilith. And in the rewrite of the class, I'm not going to be covering her because this was on a section of what pacts with demons. And there has been lately a resurgence of her name, especially in popular culture like Supernatural and another series, Sabrina. And as always, this is a miscategorization, a misinterpretation of who Lilith really is. So let me start with this, and I'm going to be reading pretty much direct from this. There will be some pictures and everything. The only thing we know for sure is that Lilith is a very powerful and ancient goddess. Some of the earlier writings put her with Gilgamesh, which is 4000 BC. And all the evidence that we've all uncovered is very, very biased against her. In Gilgamesh, she is described as a night demon. Let me look at some of my other sources here and see what we got here. This is the Qumran, Ancient Near East, yeah. In this, which is from a book called The Magic of Lilith by my friend Bal Kamond. He talks about how 5,000 years she's been maligned, she's been glorified, and everything in between. There is a modern obsession with her. We are obsessed with her because although she is ancient, she represents something other goddesses and figures do not. She represents rebelliousness and in many ways equality. Both qualities aren't much found in the Near Eastern religions. Most, if not all, goddesses had their role. However, Lilith wanted to break all the rules. Her name has various meanings. In ancient Sumerian, her name is associated with the female demons of the wind called the Lithu. Lilith also means night. As part of this demon class, Lilith would be found in desert lands. Her reputation, like all the subsequent traditions, is always considered dangerous. It is said that her breasts produce poison and that she uses these to suckle human infants to death. This created the notion that she is a killer of infants, and to this day people ascribe sudden infant death syndrome to her, and they place amulets over cribs and playpens to ward her off. She is also sexually permissive and aggressive. I've known a few women like this. And she would beguile men and cause men to have wet dreams in order to extract their semen for her to give birth to demon children. Often in the taking of the semen, she would kill the man. Thus her reputation as the succubus. Not exactly a fun date if you were to ask me. Anyway, we first encountered Lilith about 5,000 years ago. She features prominently in a Sumerian epic poem found at Ur called Gilgamesh and the Hulupu Tree. You've probably heard of Gilgamesh. He is considered in many ways the first hero ever recorded in ancient literature. He has a fairly typical story for a hero in that he encounters evil and he defeats it, and like other myths, he is searching for something elusive and mysterious. In this, what he searches for is the antidote to death. During this, I didn't go much further in this one when I talk about it. I talk about her now being in the Quran. This is a set of writings from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So Lilith appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm going to quote from a couple of fragments here. This is called the Song for a Sage, and it says, "And I, the sage, Sound the majesty of his beauty to terrify and confound all the spirits of destroying angels and the bastard spirits, the demons, Lilith, and those that strike suddenly to lead astray the spirit of understanding and to make desolate their heart. For your reference, this is fragment 4Q 510 to 511. There is another mention of her in another small fragment, 4Q 184, and this is translated by Joseph Baumgarten. He says, "Her gates are the gates of death, and from the entrance of the house she gets out towards Sheol. None of those who enter will ever return, and all who possess her will descend into the pit." The term Sheol is considered a reference to hell and to the grave. So, most of what we know, really, modern, comes to us from other sources. Let's see. There's this one source called, she is mentioned, if you read the Bible, the Old Testament, some of the older versions of the Bible, you'll read in Genesis 1:27 about God, and male and female, he created them. And this is the thing, is the reference to Adam and Eve, or Adam and a woman being created from the dust of the earth. Later on, of course, there is another chapter, Genesis, in which he talks about the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. He took one of his ribs, closed up the flesh at that place. The Lord God fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man, and brought her to the man. This is Genesis 2, 21 through 22. Well, that's an odd thing. Why did we first reference God creating man and woman together, and then later we create, woman from man? You have to understand, at this time during these translations, it was a patriarchal society, and they had to show ancient writings that there's, that woman is subservient to man. However, the first woman created by God in these traditions was actually Lilith, and she was to be seen as an equal to man, which didn't set well with the patriarch. So, that being Lilith there, so this is a contradiction. And what it is that in the Garden of Eden, Lilith rebelled against Adam. She refused to mate with him in the missionary position. She insisted on being on top. Never coming to an agreement, Lilith leaves the garden and becomes a demon. Her name appears once in the Bible in Isaiah 34:14, which is believed to refer to a demoness of the night. Therefore, more likely that Lilith is based upon really the Babylonian night demon Lithu, the goddess of wind and darkness, as a succubus. We know more about Lilith from the writings. It's called the Alphabet of Ben Sira, 8th to the 10th century Common Era, and that it's chapter 5. And from this, I think we'd better, if I was to quote from another source here, this is from Baal Kadmon and his interpretation. One thing I do need to point out, that Baal Kadmon is a biblical scholar. He reads and writes Hebrew. He reads and writes Aramaic, Greek, and Latin. So he tends to go into the details in his writings about sources such as this. Okay, so we find her narrative beginning with King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. In the alphabet of Ben Sirach, we are told that the king's son is seriously ill and no one has been able to heal him. In desperation, the king calls on Ben Sirach to heal the boy. Instead of giving the boy medicine, he starts invoking the name of God and creates a talisman with the name of 3 angels who are known for their healing powers. And not just that, they go on adventures around the world defeating evil spirits, including those that cause sickness and death. The king sees the names on the talisman and asks who they are. Ben Sirach goes on a long-winded explanation in which he not only tells the king about the names of the angels, but goes on about Lilith and how those same three angels went after Lilith when she rebelled against Adam. But before that, he goes into that, he gives her backstory. So this is directly from the text. The angels who are in charge of medicine, Sinyoi, Sansinyoi, and Salgamoth, when God created the first man alone, God said, "It is not good for man to be alone." Therefore God created a woman for him from the earth like him, and called her Lilith. Soon they began to quarrel with one another. She said, "I will not lie below you." And he said, "I will not lie below you either, but above you, so that since you are fit to be for being below me, and I being above you." To this she says, "The two of us are equal. And since we are both from the same earth," Lilith, in her rage, uttered God's ineffable name and flew away into the air. Adam stood in prayer before God and said, "Master of the universe, the woman you gave me fled away from me." So God immediately sent the three angels after her in order to bring her back. God commanded, "If she wants to return, that is good. If not, she must accept that 100 of her children will perish every day." The angels pursued her and overtook her at the Red Sea and in raging waters, and told her God's orders. She refused and did not wish to return. They told her that they would drown her in the Red Sea, at which she replied, "Leave me alone. I was only created in order to sicken babies. If they are boys, from birth to day 8, I will have power over them. If they are girls, from birth to day 20, I shall have power over them." And when they heard her reply, they pleaded with her to come back. She swore to them in the name of God that whatever she would see them, or their names, or their images on an amulet, she would leave that child alone. And then she accepted that 100 of her children would perish every day. From that day forth, 100 of her demon children shall die every day. Because of this, we write the names in the talisman to protect children. Okay, so basically what we see is that she rebelled against God. She did not wish to be subservient to Adam. She wanted to be seen as an equal to Adam, which this sets in ancient literature and in this one, medieval literature of the patriarchal society. She was demonized greatly, and so as a result, she deified. About myself and Lilith. Let me go again to my workings. So let's see, where was I? A lot of pages here. My whole place is covered with pages right now. And I'm working this one without my teleprompter going. So, all right. Few images exist of her. I flashed a few of the images up on the screen for you. But what I'm going to show you right now is a thing we call the Burney relief. It's a terracotta plaque that depicts a beautiful, naked, goddess-like person with bird-like features who stands atop 2 lions and between 2 owls. Other people figure this is a prediction of another Sumerian goddess, probably Inanna, the goddess of love, fertility, beauty, war, sexual desire. But I look at this and we see the owls and her connection to ancient owls and ancient owl gods leads me to believe this relief is an actual image of Lilith. So my own personal encounters with Lilith occurred while I was researching the Furies, and then again later while I was researching high magic. I do a lot of research before I do a class, and when I do something like high magic, I bring with it just as much research as I can. So she never has actually appeared to me. I have called her. I have the ability to summon her. She appears to me like other spirits in that I see a vague outline and I hear her voice. And to bring her to me, of course, I will set up and cast a small circle. You will use frankincense. I have a prayer that I say. Also have what's called the demonic inn, which is a utterance of 4 or 5 words, which supposedly gives me power over the demon. But since I treat demons differently than other magicians, I don't seek power over them so much as I seek an equal partnership, and which is why she responds well to me. When I do call upon her, it is for learning. It is for, give me some ideas, and I kind of sort of patterned the Furies more after her than the Furies of Greek or Roman mythology. All right, so that's my lecture about Lilith. I'm always available through direct messaging, and yeah, that's about it for right now. Again, I'm Dave. This is Confessions of an Online Psychic, which today's episode has nothing to do with being a psychic, but the next couple episodes will. So that's really it. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.